Okay, so in order to study and illustrate the economic, social, environmental and political impacts of coastal flooding, we looked at Maldives in Asia as our case study example. So we're going to be thinking about today the causes of that sea level rise and obviously the flooding that will then result, and the impacts and the responses to it. Okay, so it's important to remember actually that the Maldives are a collection of islands. They're an archipelago, so there's more than one island. It's not just one. So do try and remember that when you're thinking about them. Kicking off with the causes, which we'll put up here. Okay, one of the main reasons for the potential flooding that could affect the Maldives is sea level rise, and in particular something that we will call eustatic change. Okay, so that is when that is a technical term for increasing sea levels, and there are two main reasons for that eustatic change. The first of those is obviously global warming. Okay, which is then leading to the ice caps melting and glaciers, on-land glaciers melting, which results in the sea level rising. And another reason is actually thermal expansion. So as global temperatures are increasing, the sea temperature is increasing, the water molecules are expanding, leading to the oceans rising as a result. Estimates at the moment are that the sea level is rising by about 9 millimeters a year. Now this is important because the majority of the Maldivian islands lie only, and I'll just put a little dash here, lie only 1 meter above sea level. They're extremely low lying. And that could lead to the complete loss of those islands by the year 2085. So by 2100 we could actually have completely lost the Maldives beneath the ocean. Okay, so let's think about a few more of the impacts of this sea level rise. Well, the white sandy beaches and beautiful oceans have actually led to the Maldives being a really important area for tourism. In fact, 30% of the country's GDP is gained through tourism. Now, one of the impacts of potential flooding is that the airport, okay, so we'll put a little airplane up here, in fact, the airport on the main island, okay, could be flooded and lost. Therefore, tourists wouldn't be able to visit at all. So we'll just put there's going to be a potential loss of airport, and with that you will lose your international tourists and all the income and wealth that they generate for people through job opportunities. About 600,000 tourists visit the Maldives a year, so you can see where that 30% of income comes from. Another major industry that could suffer because of the flooding is the fishing industry. Okay, so the fishing industry here, which accounts for about 15%, so the next highest sector of industry, and that could suffer for two main reasons. Firstly, the warming oceans could lead to a lack of biodiversity as the fish can't adapt to those changing circumstances. So you'll have less fish indeed to catch, so that industry could suffer. Another reason is that if the actual islands get flooded, the actual processing plants, okay, so the fish processing plants where the fish is taken and then packaged before being exported could be flooded, so inhibiting that industry from taking place. Another environmental impact is that the warming oceans are having a major impact on the coral reefs that are found below the ocean near the Maldives, and is one of the big draws for tourists who go there to do scuba diving and things like that. As the water gets deeper, those reefs are dying off and we're losing those ecosystems, which is a loss for us globally because of that loss of that habitat, but more locally will have a huge impact on the tourist industry. Another impact of the potential flooding will obviously be if those islands are flooded, then, as is already the case with some of them, they will need to be evacuated. So you're actually going to get a situation where there will be refugees, environmental refugees, created as people have to leave. And obviously their traditional way of life is lost as those homes are flooded and the land is lost. Another major problem with the rising sea levels is that seawater is coming onto the Maldivian islands and actually contaminating the freshwater underground water supplies. They actually get most of their drinking water from recycled rainwater, but the underground water supplies are used for other things, and as that flooding starts to take place, there'll be less fresh water available. If the supplies are polluted with salty seawater, then some islands will rely even more on the rainwater or have to build very expensive desalination plants. Desalination plant is somewhere where you can turn salt water into drinkable fresh water. Actually, the Maldives grow very little to no food themselves. They rely very much on importing goods at great expense from other countries. However, there is a small amount of agriculture that does take place, and if this flooding does occur or continue to occur with the rising sea levels, then the flood water is likely to remove that very thin layer, of fertile land, which is about 20 centimetres of fertile soil that they have on the land, and that will just mean that the plants won't be able to grow as the salt water will contaminate the soil and the plants won't be able to survive in it. Okay. In terms of the responses, well, they have tried to defend the islands against the rising sea levels, and around the capital of Malé, on the main island, they have built a sea wall which took 14 years to build at a huge cost of $63 million. That will last for a while, but as the sea level continues to increase, it will have to either be increased in level, or they will have to come up with an alternative, and indeed may well have to abandon the islands completely. A huge amount of media attention has been put on the Maldives, and indeed the President of the Maldives conducted a big summit underneath the sea with other government ministers to try and draw international attention to the Maldives as a case of environmental concern and the damage that we're doing to the planet. One thing that's becoming very clear to everyone involved is that tensions are growing between the local people, political tension between the polluters, which is the global community, and the Maldives. The Maldives are suffering, but they're not necessarily to blame for the global warming that is taking place.